Okay, yeah, we're continuing our spiritual discipline series. I'm talking about simplicity, not fathers. I'm so sorry. I feel like that's wrong, but it wasn't my choice. James' fault. Um, I could talk about simple fathers. Yes, I could. No, I'm really thankful for the fathers in our community. I'm thankful for my father. I'm thankful for the father of my children. And good fathers are a really big deal. And so, yeah, we're thankful for you guys. Um, and you really matter and really impact not just your kids' lives, but our community's lives. Because people need to see good fathers who didn't get to have one themselves. I'm going to say a prayer and then we'll get going. God, I thank you for who you are. I thank you that we get to be here together. And think about you and ponder on you, and I pray that you would speak to me and through me, and that, today would be a blessing to your people, and that we can become more like you. In Jesus' name, amen. So today we're going to talk about the spiritual discipline of simplicity. And I'm going to talk about just how that has changed my life and why I think we should be taking it seriously. I have a deal, so let's see how I do. I felt like it was going to be too complicated if I didn't put things up on a screen, but now I made it complicated for myself, so we'll see how that goes. I really haven't studied this extensively. I'll just say that up front. I haven't read a bunch of books about simplicity or even spiritual disciplines. Really, I'm not an expert. I'm not even very good at practicing this. I have been working on it and trying to implement things in my life, and so I'm really trying to just speak out of that experience and what I've found to be true. I also did get a lot of help from my friend Natalie over here. If you don't know Natalie, I don't know what you're doing. You need to get to know Natalie. She's a counselor here in Wiley. She's not going to counsel you. So no matter how much you beg, she's not going to counsel you if you come to Wiley Church because she just doesn't do that, right? Too complicated. But she is a great counselor and a great resource and just has a wealth of wisdom, really. And I've been blessed by kind of forcing myself on her and asking her lots of questions and feedback about different things in ministry. And when I had this sermon coming up, I was like, she would have some good thoughts about that. I bet she deals with that a lot. She gave me quite a bit of help on this sermon. Before we get started, here's my outline, kind of in a nutshell, what I'm going off of. I'm going to go over here. That might be better. Feels more natural. I'm going to show you some pictures of Reese and Ryan. I realize they don't have a lot to do with my sermon, but I figure you're going to think my sermon's good if I show you pictures of Reese and Ryan. No matter what I say after that, you're going to remember that and be like, yeah, the sermon was good today. We're going to talk about Sprite, a fire alarm no one cares about, bricks and ladders, a cycle of loneliness, running away, 5 words, a few suggestions. Song? That was because I didn't know if I was going to do that, and I forgot to take the question mark away. We are going to do a song. I'm not going to play a song. So, I always go through my sermons with Tyler, before, so I can, feel better about myself and not be insecure. And at the end, or I got to this part, and he was like, so, you're going to play a song? And I was like, no. I was just felt bad for him because I knew in that moment there's this panic of how do I nicely tell her not to do that? Not gonna play a song myself. I will on the phone. But before pictures of Reese and Ryan, I thought I should define what I mean by simplicity. So I found this definition in a book that Natalie gave me, and it's not of simplicity, but I wanted to use it anyways because I think it works. So I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but simplicity is not about focusing on nothingness, and really what I would say is not about doing nothing. It's about creating a clearing. It's opening up an emotionally clutter-free space allowing ourselves to feel and think and dream and question. Such a beautiful definition, isn't it? Of stillness, but also of simplicity. So yeah, over a year ago, much like a lot of you did, I found myself kind of forced into simplicity in a lot of ways. I feel like more so because I had young children than some of you, because I couldn't really like binge watch TV shows or like pick up a new hobby. Like I found myself kind of annoyed with all of you young singles that were like really dying in quarantine. I'm like, you get to do whatever you want. I am watching children, and that is all I'm doing, and there's no escape for me. But yeah, we were pretty much home with our kids that whole time, and I found myself struggling and frustrated and lonely and sad at times. Meanwhile, my children were absolutely thriving. I mean, they were doing unbelievable. Here's some pictures of them. They loved quarantine. Let's see what we got here. I have a pointer. Here we go. We got frogs, lots of frog usage. And I do mean usage. They used these frogs for their enjoyment. Ryan got very creative. Look at this. Perfect stacking of 2 chairs to get a little tiny bird nest, pretend bird nest, bird cage. And then, I don't know what's going on here. Creepy baby class. I don't know what this is. Ryan, I guess, is a queen. She's being pushed by Reese. That's a box. This was Reese's birthday party. Her 6-year-old birthday party consisted of her and Ryan and our 2 neighbors. And they dressed up. They're from Turkey. And they dressed up. They got to our door all dressed up. I just said, like, oh, well, can you guys come over to celebrate her birthday? And they just kept saying, isn't this the best birthday ever? Isn't this the best birthday party you've ever seen? It was so sweet. They're doing crafts there. This is Post-it notes that Reese cut up to make kitty ears. I feel like it was pretty creative. And then you can imagine just all the sights they saw with those goggles. I mean, just like really needed to be able to see under that water there. No, one time at the beginning of quarantine, like Ty and I were going crazy. We had like been in the house for like a long time. And we were like, we've got to get out. And this is when like getting out was still like risky. But we were like, we're going to go get some ice cream. I'll sanitize the ice cream cones. It'll be great. Right? So we tell the girls, like, let's go get some ice cream. And Reese is like, can we just play at home for a few more minutes? I was like, what? Like, we have been home all of the minutes. Like, that's all the minutes we've done is at home. But they really enjoyed that time. And I realized what was happening is that I was going through a detox of sorts. And my children were really getting what they had been needing and craving all along. And so as I was working through this, I was watching my kids a lot at the time too. I was working on my phone usage and cutting back on that. So I was kind of trying to read in place of that. I was reading more. I just found myself needing to get out of the house and get a change of scenery. So I would go outside a bunch and just sit on the back porch or the front porch, or just go on a mini walk just to like get a change of scenery, like I said. And I noticed that in that I found a shift in myself, a shift in my heart and in my mind, that this new way of life was doing something to me. And as I was sitting thinking about how to describe what this was like and what it felt like to you guys without just saying that, it made me think of right after I gave birth to Reese, obviously, something you guys would love to hear about. So I was in labor for, I think, 28 hours. Everybody loves a good labor story, right? All the guys are just on the edge of their seats. I was in labor for over 28 hours because I got induced. And because I got induced, I wasn't able to eat or drink anything at all, except for ice chips. And so, like, after this whole process, not eating or drinking, being in labor 28 hours, pushed for 3 hours, I was absolutely exhausted. Like, I didn't even know what a baby was. I'm like, I gotta get something. And the nurse came to me and asked if I wanted something to drink. And of course I did. And she brought me like this tiny cup of Sprite. And And I drank that real quick. And I was like, yeah, we got to have more of that. So I think I went through like 5 cups of Sprite after. But that Sprite was so good. Still to this day, I really do think about that Sprite. And Tyler and I laugh about it because since then, like, I crave Sprite. Like, I'm an adult woman and I will order Sprite at a restaurant. I never used to do that. Right. And so here's the thing, that simplicity created a clearing in me. And it was a clearing where I was getting these regular doses of silence, of solitude, of prayer, of calm. And that became much like that Sprite. It was like Sprite to my soul. You can write that down. And just like I find myself literally craving Sprite now, I find myself craving simplicity, genuinely craving the simplicity that leads me to Jesus. And I've noticed that that's just become a little bit a part of my life without thinking of it. I'll just like walk out the front door. I mean, I'll make sure my kids are safe, right? Or Tyler's got him, but I'm sure sometimes he's like, where is my wife? But I'll just walk out the front door and sit on the porch for a while, and it's not even this intentional, like, oh, I need to make sure I do this. It's just like, oh, I want this time. And what's interesting to me is that we know that this busy, hectic, crazy, rushed lives, these crazy, rushed lives that we live are a problem. We know that busying our hearts and minds constantly with our phones is a problem. Studies are finding it's a substantial problem. We know all of that, but we're laughing it off, and we don't really care, is what it seems like. And over time, even a little bit before quarantine, because I do teen ministry, and so I've been reading these articles about social media and phones and all of these things. But over time, I've just seen this as like, there's this fire alarm going off. And I hear the alarm and I see the fire. And I look around and other people, there's plenty of other people that see the fire and hear the alarm. And some people do care about it, but it seems like most people are just ignoring it or just laughing it off. And that feels more alarming. It's one thing to see a problem and an alarm and hear it and think I got to get myself out of it. It's another thing to see a lot of other people not moving towards the exit. I think that I was telling Ty, like as I was reflecting on this, I think every time that I've brought up phone usage in a sermon, not just here, but like at CTF, and I went and preached at Plano, every time that I've brought it up, somebody has made a joke in the crowd, or there's like snickers around. I'm not like condemning or saying that they're awful. I'm just saying, like, why are we doing that? We know it's a problem, but it's become a joke to us. And I think especially as Christians, like, we've got to be alarmed. We've got to be alarmed at this because we are addicted. I am addicted. I'm absolutely addicted to my phone, like 100%, not kidding at all. Garrett read like a list of signs of addiction at this Pizza Theology recently. Every single one of them, like I identified with in regards to my phone usage. We're addicted to our phones. We're addicted to our busy lives. We're addicted to accumulating more possessions. We're addicted to clutter and complexity. Richard J. Foster says, there's a good article, A Celebration of Discipline. He says, courageously, we need to articulate new, more human ways to live. And I would say that to us. We are Christians. We are meant to show the world what being human really looks like. Courageously, we have to articulate a more human way to live. And you might say, okay, yeah, like I recognize that's a problem, but there's lots of problems, right? There's lots of problems in our world. So why does this one matter so much? And the biggest one that I would say is that we are wasting our lives. We are wasting our lives chasing after things that don't matter. We're wasting our lives looking at a screen. We have beautiful children in the room with us, wanting to hang out with us and talk to us, and we're looking at a screen. We have other human beings in the room with us, and we're looking at a screen, and I can't imagine what Jesus would think walking into a room of a family all looking at a screen, or friends hanging out and all looking at a screen. And I'm not saying it out of judgment. I'm saying it out of pain and conviction, because I see this problem in myself. And we're teaching our children. Even if you don't have children, you are teaching children. We're teaching them. We're showing them to chase after meaningless things. We're raising overscheduled kids. We're teaching them that real life is lived when you get a screen of your very own. We're teaching them to ignore human beings. We're teaching them to pay attention to screens filled with mirages. And we're not offering the world real life. They look at Christians, a lot of Christians, and they see the same rushed, hectic rat race that they see everywhere else, and they see the same screen-lit faces that they see everywhere else. And that's why I think it matters so much. Jesus told a parable about seeds, and one kind of seed particularly haunts me when I think about it. He said, the seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. The worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth. In the same article I quoted a minute ago, he says we're trapped in a maze of competing attachments. I feel that. He also says the spiritual discipline of simplicity is not a lost dream, but a recurrent vision throughout history. It can be recaptured today. It must be. And that's my encouragement to you guys. We can recapture this vision. So what holds us back? Why don't we practice simplicity? I think there's a lot of reasons, so I didn't try to be exhaustive. But the main ones that came to mind, I'll go through. The first is bricks and ladders. So the Israelites, for a long time, were in captivity to Egypt. And during that time, they were making bricks. And that's all they did. They made bricks and bricks and bricks. And that's essentially how their value was measured, was how many bricks did you make today? For years, their value was directly correlated to their productivity and how many bricks they made. And then God took them, led them out of captivity, and then on the mountain he gave them these commandments, and one of the commandments was the Sabbath. And he said, you cannot work this day a week. You cannot work one day a week. Think of just the profound shift that was for them. What do you mean? My value is what I can produce. I can't produce bricks that day. Can't produce anything for anybody that day, right? Because you are not valued based on your productivity. You are not valued based on your bricks. But we do that. We value ourselves based on how successful and productive we are. Busyness makes us feel important and makes us feel good about ourselves. But God says your value is set. You are valuable aside from that. We weren't made for productivity and efficiency. If that was God's intention for us, he didn't make us very well. Because we literally lay down for 8 hours straight. Every single day. Just imagine, all the people here, last night, all these people were just laying, not doing a single thing at all for about 8 hours. That's weird. It's weird to think about. Sometimes I think about that. I'm like, that is weird. My body's just laying there. Nobody's looking at it. It's not doing anything. It's just laying there for a long time. Right? God designed us that way. He could design us any way he wanted. We're not designed for productivity. Not to mention, we all look different. We all have different voices. We all have fingerprints. We all have different fingerprints. Of all efficiency was not God's concern. And it shouldn't be ours either. Not to say we don't work. Work is good. God created it it is a gift for us. It's what we were created to do. But we weren't created for productivity and efficiency. But we can easily fall back into playing the same game as everybody else, running the same rat race as everybody else, climbing the same ladders as everybody else, only to find it's up against the wrong building, and where we're going doesn't even need a ladder. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble at heart, and you will find rest for your souls." The practice of silence or simplicity, it's all kind of jumbled together, right? Because simplicity leads to these other practices of silence and solitude. So don't think about it too much. The practice of silence is the radical reversal of our cultural tendencies, the deep inner reversal of that grasping, controlling mode of being that so characterizes life in our culture. Radical reversal. I love that. Next is a cycle of loneliness. This is one that I hadn't really thought of, but Natalie brought up to me, and it made a lot of sense. That we get in this cycle of loneliness. It's ironic that in a culture where loneliness and feelings of isolation are almost pandemic, never read that word the same, solitude is so foreign to us. Most of our solitude is forced, not chosen, creating loneliness rather than spiritual intimacy with the Father. We're so afraid of loneliness or we feel lonely that being alone, being by ourselves is so terrible. We avoid it at all costs. And so we fill our lives with these other things, but really we end up lacking connection in those things. And it just perpetuates the cycle rather than in these moments of solitude, spending time with the one who knows us the deepest and can connect with us the deepest, letting him fill us up, and having something to offer as we go out in the world. We avoid this being alone, and it perpetuates this cycle of loneliness. The next one is running away. Running away from silence and solitude because we're afraid about what we might think about. We're afraid of what being vulnerable with God will feel like. We're afraid to face ourselves, who we are, our problems, our faults, our anxieties. We're afraid of being laid bare like that. And I've definitely been there where I've ran away from time with God. But here's the thing, God can handle it. God can handle it. Just like God's concern isn't efficiency, I don't think his concern is for perfection either. Now, of course, God is leading us on that path to perfection. So maybe I should say fast perfection isn't his concern either. God is bringing our perfection about, and he will get rid of sin in the world for good. But God could have created us, again, any way he wanted to. Human babies take about a year to walk. Baby giraffes, which seem like the most uncoordinated animal you could imagine, walk in under an hour. Humans take years to talk, even. We are made for practice and growth. God's okay with that process. He's okay with bringing us along, and we can get perfect or pretty near perfect at things with a lot of practice. But we don't get to just start off there. There's a long road. God's okay with it, or he would have created us differently. Not to mention, God sent Jesus to take care of that problem anyways. But yeah, God God can handle you. The safest place you can be with your struggles is with God. Sometimes we're just running away from awkward silence. We feel awkward. That feels weird of not having anything to do or sitting there and being quiet. But it's a muscle. It's a practice. It's something to try out. It's an experience. And you just keep doing it. And as you keep doing it, that's when it gets really good. And ultimately, I think it all comes back to believing and living out the gospel, which I would sum up in two things. We are enough for God, and God is enough for us. We are enough for God. He can handle our problems. We don't have to grasp and earn and chase. We don't have to do that. We're enough for him. Our problems, he's taking care of it. He's taking care of sin and our issues in our life. We're enough for him. And God is enough for us. Everything the human heart desires is in him. One guy I listened to, Bill Watson, out of Pizza Theology a few years ago. He said, sin is when we reach around God trying to get something that only God gives. God has it all. He'll give us all of it. It's a deep well. But we think we need something else. We are enough for God. God is enough for us. So what does this simplicity produce in us? I think the biggest thing is that it produces awareness. It produces an awareness of God. Satan has worked so hard to keep us really busy, and he's done a really good job of that, because if we're busy, we're not thinking about God. We're not paying attention to him. And then he ups the ante by giving us iPhones. So even when we aren't busy, we're busy. Even when we're busy, we're busier. Even when I'm watching TV, I'll have my phone. What? I don't even know. This is the life we live. Good job, Satan. One of my favorite preachers, he says, the bush is always burning. God is always speaking. He's always beckoning us to him. But I fear that we miss the bush. We're looking at our phone. We're rushing to the next thing. We can't even look to the right or the left because we're late. We're running late. We miss God all the time, because of our busy lives, because of our phones. Wait, I'm supposed to go to the next slide. I missed that. Yeah. Creativity. You declutter your life and your mind, and you'll be amazed at the kinds of things that you want to do, the kinds of things you want to make, the ideas that you have. We are made in the image of the Creator. That's part of who we are and who we're meant to be, but our clutter drowns it out. Confidence. When you have thought about things and talked to God and listened to God and sat with it, you gain this centeredness, this grounding, this clarity about life, and confidence in what you're doing comes forth. Contentment. You let Jesus fill you, and he will. He said, I've come that you may have life and have it to the full. He told the Pharisees, you diligently study the scriptures, you do all these other things. These testify about me, but you don't come to me for life. Jesus is where real life is. And then joy. All these other things just lead to joy. All of these other things lead to joy. So simplicity is about creating a clearing in your life, not filling your mind, your schedule, or your house to the brim with stuff, with clutter, with distractions. It's about leaving room. It's about leaving room. So here are some suggestions you might try. Quit something. I kind of thought it was funny when I put that up there. Quit something. But I mean it. You probably can and should quit something. Quit doing something in your life. We do too much. All the things we think we're so needed. Everybody needs. They just couldn't make it without us. They're probably good. Give things away, like a lot of things. Give a lot of things away. If you have a storage unit, oh my gosh, what? Stop it. I'm judging you. I absolutely am. We have too many things. Every time you buy something, give something away. Go on walks without headphones. Be outside more. I think being outside should be a spiritual discipline. I mean, I'm not an expert, but if I wrote a spiritual discipline book, I'd put that in there. Keep nothing in your mind. Oh, this is good. If you hang out with me, you've probably heard me say this. This is my new practice. Keep nothing in your mind. I read this book, changed my life. But basically, that's the premise. I'll tell you what the book says. Keep nothing in your mind. So I got my reminders list. I got about 50 of them for different things. Every time I think of something that I think I want to do or I need to do, just put it in there. And then you can categorize it. What do you do at your computer? What do you do? Errands. What do you do when you're sitting at your desk? What are my other categories? Someday maybe is one of my categories. So it's like, I think that's cool. Maybe I want to do that. Put it on that list. If you guys don't care about this one, I'm going to keep going. What else? Books I want to read. I don't just keep them in my mind. Put them on my list. Put them on a list. Listen, life's changing. Because we keep all of these things in our mind. It's another form of clutter. All these things jumbled up in our mind, and our mind is like, I got to remind him of this. And so it just creates this stress. But no, I don't. It frees up your mind to think about things that are important. It frees up your mind for creativity and calm. So think about something, put it on your list, then your mind doesn't have to keep track of it anymore. You're welcome. Change your life. Leave room in your schedule for spontaneity. We book up every second. You can't call anybody and say, hey, you want to hang out right now? No way. What do you mean? I'm too busy for that. No, leave room in your schedule for spontaneity. Delete some apps. Boom. I don't keep Facebook on my phone. I don't keep Twitter on my phone. What else do I keep on my phone? I've deleted quite a few apps. I have a computer, so I can do that on there. Those aren't evil, right? I don't mind it. But I'm not going to mindlessly get out my computer or get my computer out while I'm just hanging out with people. So that is good. But then I had to take it kind of to the next level. So, oh no, I need to get that back up. Oh no, this is a problem. User error. Okay, here we go. I had to take it to the next level because what I would do is override it. And I would go on my Safari and I would look it up on Safari. I'm an addict. I know, I'm insane, absolutely insane. So what I had to do is restrict those websites from Safari, but then I would still override it with my passcode. Or I would have time limits on things, and then I would just be like, ignore time limit, obviously. So I have a problem. But hey, I found this, so you can restrict everything. Take a picture of this. This is guiding you on how to live your life better. So you go to settings, go to screen time, content restrictions. Okay, you can do all that. Then you go back to screen time, and you find this button. Use screen time passcode. So that's when you give your phone to somebody else. And you say, here, type in a code that you'll remember, but I won't remember. And then it solves your life right there, okay? Hey, if you're serious about this, if the alarm bells are going off, put your money where your mouth is. That's where it's at. Change your life. All right. I want to play about 20 seconds of a song, and then I'll close. Steon's got it.
Every little thing you think that you need, every little thing that's just feeding your greed. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it.
I have come to love that song. And really, it's primarily, I think, talking about possessions. But it has more meaning than that. Every little thing that you think you need to do, every little thing you need to do on your phone, right then and there, every little thing that you need to buy, I bet you'll be fine without it. Chances are you'll be fine without it. May you create a clearing, a clutter-free space in your life, allowing yourself to feel and think and dream and question. And may you be aware of the presence of God. God, thank you for your goodness. Thank you for life that we get to live, and may we live it right and full. and focused on you and centered on you. May we have the courage to hold out a different way of life, to pass on a different way of life. We love you in Jesus' name, amen. Where's Melissa? Do we have time? Okay, so they want to do some breakout discussions. So why don't we just break out and I guess just discuss how do you want to pursue simplicity in your life? What does that look like for you? What's a step that you can take? And anything else, whatever else you want to share. We'll do that for 5 or 10 minutes. Okay.